time to start. So let me call to order the oldest Lions Club in the world. And I'm Lion Rudy Munguia. So welcome to everyone. We will, let's see, today's host is Chuck. Lion Chuck Mandelbaum. Chuck, you wanna update us on what the Zoom procedures are?
Really, the only procedure is that you keep yourself muted unless you're talking. When somebody else is talking, please mute yourself so that, because it works better if only one microphone is on at the same time.
Well, thank you so much. And we're going to have a chance to practice that because we're ready for our Pledge of Allegiance. And today, Lion Rachel Reed is going to lead us in our pledge. So as you're able, would you please stand? And then Rachel, as you're ready, we're ready also.
I'm ready.
You go ahead then.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now the pledge to the Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Rachel. Do appreciate your help this way. All right. And so we are ready to see if we have any guests today. I will ask again, Leonard, if you will help me identify anyone with their hands up that might have a guest today. I'm not.
Other than us. Oh, Alan Ford has his hand up.
Alan, who is your guest today, please?
Well, I may. A guest today. I see he hasn't joined us yet. Dr. Brown has as his day job, and probably more than just a day job, running the community clinic over in Walnut Creek Business Park, which does both outpatient and inpatient studies of things like PTSD and depression. But he also has pretty big jobs as a scout leader and as the silently suffering husband of Chris Brown, who is our pastor at First Presbyterian Church in Smithville. So if David shows up, I'll give you some idea that he's carved out a little bit of time from a very busy schedule to join us.
Well, thank you for reaching out and inviting Dr. Brown to our meeting, and hopefully he'll join us before too long. Any other guests?
I have a guest that will be joining us. My wife, Kathy, will be joining us a little later.
All right. Thank you, Mark. I think Kathy joined us last week, and she's always welcome. So not seeing any other guests, I believe we're going to be ready to move on. And this next portion is something that we have not had the pleasure of doing for a while, and that is do some, to hear our centennial song that Lion Terry Heller wrote for us a while back. And we used to be able to sing that when we were still meeting at the School for the Blind and Visually Impaired. But here we are, and there are the words. And Terry, thank you so much for helping us this way. Let me turn it over to you. And do you want to run through it once, and we'll just kind of sing along in our own way, and then we'll all join in for sure the second time around. So let me turn it over to you now.
Well, good luck to all of us, and it's really fun to play for you guys again. We tried it a little while ago. I hope it doesn't break up too much. I'm going to play it in my key first, and then we're all going to sing it in the family key, okay? We are the Austin downtown founder lions, the oldest lions in the world. We might have fight them, yes, the Austin downtown founder lions. We meet meet every week. Zooming cheek to cheek, oh yes, the Austin downtown, founder lions, the best lions in the world. We bite 'em, the oldest and best, all of the rest. That's the first time through. Now let's try it all together, please. Warm it up. We are the Austin downtown founder lions, the oldest lions in the world. We bite 'em, yes, the Austin downtown founder lions. We meet every week, roaring cheek to cheek. Oh, that's the Austin downtown founder lions. We roar, we surf, we've got a lot of nerve. The Austin downtown founder lions, the oldest lions in the world. We bite 'em, the oldest and best of all of the rest. Yeah, how'd that go? I hope that was okay.
That was wonderful, Terry. Thank you. Thank you. Wow. You put some good beat and rhythm to that one. So yeah, and that's as a reminder to everyone, that's our very own Austin Founder Lions Club song. So Terry's the author and the music and the lyrics. So all hats and thanks to Terry.
That was fun.
All right. Okay. I hope everyone enjoyed that. Some of you may not have heard that ever, and others of us have not heard it in a while, but it is a fun song and definitely has the beat and the rhythm. So, all right. Well, we're going to move on, and for announcements, let me say a few words about the Meals on Wheels. Last Friday, we, some of us, about a dozen of us or so, were over at the Meals on Wheels location, helping load meals for clients, and then we had the drivers delivering those meals. We were simply loading the meals onto the cars, and the drivers would then make the deliveries. So I don't know if our pictures, if we have any photos ready to go up on this, but let me pause a moment and see if we, all right, there we go. There's that crew. Here's some of us. It's not all of us that got into the pictures, but you can kind of see a little bit that it's all outdoors. You can see some of the cars out in the street that are lined up, getting ready to come along the stations where we were working. You can see we have our Lions Club yellow vests on. Of course, when we're working with loading up the cars, we have our masks on, but here for the picture, some of us do and some of us don't. But we were told that there would be, we were loading enough meals so that the clients would have something to eat for about 2 weeks. So it's not a daily thing, it's not a weekly, but for a 2-week issue. So that's what we were loading the cars with, so that there would be enough. Each car had about an average of 10 clients that they were delivering to. So and they told us there were about 250 routes that the cars had to make, and some of them would make the route and come back, but it was a rewarding experience, I believe, all the way around. We enjoyed it as being part of it for representing our Lions Club, and thank you to all of those that came out. And our next opportunity will be on Friday, December the 4th. So here we are on the first day of October, and we're looking down the road to December the 4th. And there'll be another date in December, but I do want to thank everyone and thank you for those pictures that were made available of us working. So if anyone missed out on this opportunity and would like to join us, as I said, our next opportunity is on December 4th. They're only asking for so many volunteers per station, and we were able to cover 2 stations, almost 2 stations. But if you're interested, please let us know early and we'll have your name on the list. All right, so thank you very much. Also want to recognize some folks and let you know that our Lions Club International recognizes those that bring in new members. And I think it was in Ann Ward's time as president, prior to this current time, that these awards are being recognized. And so I want to call out the name for Sam Reese. He brought in Rachel Reed, a new member. I want to recognize Ann Ward, who also brought in a new member. Both Sam and Ann are getting diamond level awards. And the third person to be recognized by the LCI, and we're happy to recognize Chuck Mandelbaum is getting a gold level recognition today. So these three Lions, Lion Sam Reese, Lion Ann Ward, and Lion Chuck Mandelbaum, congratulations. Those came to our secretary, those certificates came to our secretary, and you will be receiving them in the mail. But I did want to, there they are. Thank you. Thank you, Leonardo. She's holding them up. So she will be sending them out by mail. So congratulations. And let me see if we have, what else we might have for announcements. Oh, I do want to thank Ann Ward for the summer edition of Lion Letters. Some of you, well, all of you should have received through the email the summer edition of our newsletter, and that's called the Lion Letters. And it is a wonderful review or a collection of information of what has been happening during the summer months with the different activities, and what's happening here at the beginning of our fall season. So Ann, thank you very much. The newsletter was very informative. It's colorful and a good review in many ways of the programs that we've enjoyed. All right, and I believe we are ready for birthdays. I believe that, oh, and we have no birthdays this week. So we're gonna move on. And for today's program, we're gonna help build up our rose sales. And Robert Watson and Glenda, I don't know if both of you, Glenda Summers, are doing that. Glenda, I'm going to turn it over to you, and you tell us where we are with our rose sales. Glenda, I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now. Thank you.
Okay, great. Well, I just want to emphasize how important this fundraiser is going to be, because we don't know when we're going to be able to have another fundraiser. What I want to do is, Linda Locke sent out an email to all of our members earlier in the week, and it is such a good email. I don't know if everybody's read it or not, but I want to read the email and discuss it. And then Robert will be talking about the delivery and the packaging. And Linda starts off the email saying, with the subject, roses, roses, roses. Hello, everyone. In this time of isolation for so many of us, please take a moment to complete the application for roses on our Austin Founder Lions Club website. You can surprise and delight a few of your unsuspecting friends and loved ones on October 29th. So far, this is the one fundraiser our club can actually do. Your help is needed so we can continue to support service projects for our community and beyond. Then she says, if you are having trouble accessing the application on the website, you can send an email to Leonore, and she gives Leonore's information. She will get your order taken. You will give her the name and address of the recipient, as well as your phone number and their phone number. She will get your credit card information by phone, or you can send her a check. Also, any of you fellow Lions listed below will be happy to help you place your order. Hope you're doing well and looking forward to being together in the future. Linda sends her information. She's got Robert's phone number, and my phone number that's listed is incorrect. That's my old work number. My phone number is 512-327-2810. It's 512-327-2810. What I want to emphasize is that we just make the assumptions that everybody can go online and order, or they can download the form. We need to make sure that everybody has access to this form. So if you have a friend that might not have, that wants to order, mail them the form. Put it in an envelope, enclose an envelope made payable to the address to the Austin Downtown Lions Club. Do anything we can to help people get these orders in. We're just used to passing the order forms around at our meetings, but let's make things as easy as possible for people so that we can get these orders in, and as soon as possible. Rudy is going to send out another email this week that that Ann Moore did, and Ann sent this email, and we can send it to our members, but she sent it to her database, and she received some orders from her database just because of that email that she sent out. So be looking in your on your emails for Ann's email and attachment also. Now Robert is going to talk about the importance of the packaging and the delivery. Robert, are you ready?
There we go.
Leonore, while we're waiting for, okay.
I'm on. I'd just like to thank Rudy for giving us a little bit of time here to just explain some of the operations and also promote the sales. The biggest concern is this is our one and only fundraiser, and it's very important that it become a successful operation. To date, we've only got last count was 18 dozen roses sold. So, but we're early, not that early, but we've got 3 weeks to go. So it's very important that we pay attention to this. I'd just like to explain to a little bit, most of our operations is going to come out of the Bill Dorn warehouse, and that's over on 2006 Gaston Place. And this will go out on an email, so you don't have to be concerned about grabbing a pen and writing this down. Our packaging will be on Wednesday, the 28th, and this will involve the roses coming into the warehouse. We will take them from there, do the clipping, put them in a box, and put those boxes back into the coolers ready for on Thursday morning. And I've got a little, bring your garden clippers, put your name on the garden clippers, so you don't lose them, but bring them along. It helps out in the packaging. The other thing, the deliveries will be on Thursday. Oh, I'm sorry. Wednesday, 9 o'clock till 12 o'clock is packaging. From 9 till 12, we should be out of there and finished. And that warehouse closes down at 1 o'clock, so we have to be out of there with that. Now, for the deliveries, we can start at 7 o'clock in the morning, and probably you will leave there, maybe take out all your orders, and then come come back again, maybe get another batch, or you'll be tied up for right till noon, possibly. But come with masks on, wear your lion attire so people will see you in the community. The good situation here is to handle it with a buddy, maybe it could be the one that you sponsored, the individual, or maybe it could be a neighbor, or it could be your golf buddy. But it's good to have two people in the car, one driving and one kind of directing as to where to go. Good GPS is also handy. I'd like to thank everybody for being involved. I'd like to thank Rudy for this, but let's pass it over to JP and we'll go to a little fun and have an auction here. I'll just show you the roses that we've got.
Well, Robert, I think we see the roses. They're giant roses right behind Rudy.
Okay,
Is
that's
that the
good enough.
dozen
You bet.
I don't know where they
Move
grew
out of the
those,
way.
but they got good soil.
Yeah.
All right, let's start the auction. $5, and I need some help because the screen is not big enough to see everyone on the call today. Who'll give me 5? Give me 5. Come on, raise your hand. There's John. 5, 10. Tommy, 15. Anybody 15? Anybody 15? I got $20 from Tommy. 25. 25. Somebody give me 25. 25. Rudy, give me 25. 30. John, Tommy, 35. I got 30 from John. Alan Ford, 35. Tommy Cowan, 50. I can't count all those fingers, Tommy. 40. Got $40 from Tommy. That's the usual number of fingers I usually get. I got 40 from Tommy. Anybody give me 45? Any 45? John Nieffler, 45. 45. Jim Robertson, 50. Jim Robertson, 50. 55. Anybody 55? Anybody 55? Where did I say 55? Got Jim Robertson for 50? 50? Once? Gone? Jim, you bought those giant roses behind Rudy.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I do want to thank Robert and Glenda and JP for helping us remember the importance of our fundraiser and that it's going on right now, and that we really only have until October the 21st to take advantage of the wholesale that the wholesale price of how we get our roses. After the 21st, Robert can explain this a lot more, but a lot better, but I'll try to kind of summarize it. We lose some of the benefit, some of the profit that we would have gained, because it's a matter of guessing or anticipating how many roses we can sell. So we tell the wholesaler we're going to sell this many roses, and we've been able to do that in the past. But any orders that we received between the 21st and the delivery date of the 29th, we lose a little bit of that profit. So Robert, are you still on? And is this kind of online with the way things are?
Yes, Rudy, we guarantee that we will purchase 200 dozen roses from them at a market at a good price. And then after that, anything above that, and usually it's probably about half of the, or maybe not half, but very close to we pay full price for the roses after that. And it does increase the price considerably, probably about maybe 15-20%. So that's just money but we can't guarantee that we're going to sell 300 and 350 dozen roses if we've only got orders in for a much lesser amount. So we go with the guarantee, and then that's after 200, we pay full price. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Robert. I wanted to share that because in the past, I have enjoyed selling the roses to my friends, but I've not put my timer on there, and I've waited almost to the last moment to get my sales in. And I didn't realize that it was shortchanging the club a little bit. So I share that with you and encourage you to contact your friends and get those orders in by the 21st. All right, we're ready to move on then. And we're ready for our program. So let me ask our program to be introduced, and our speaker, and Lion Gaylord Armstrong is going to do that for us today. So Gaylord, if you will, please.
My pleasure. Good afternoon. With only 33 days before the general election campaign, on an election date on November 3rd, the program committee thought that an overview of the candidates for the general election campaign would be appropriate, particularly given it's the one time in 4 years we have the opportunity to decide who we want to be our president and vice president. Also, as you know, there are U.S. senators, including our senior senators up for re-election, all members of Congress, all members of the Texas House, and several state senators, as well as 3 statewide officials. But as you know, the governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general, others are not up with the same year as the president. And that was intentionally done back when Ben Barnes was lieutenant governor, for concern that statewide elections for governor, lieutenant governors, and attorney general, for example, would be affected too much by the presidential campaign. I particularly wanted us to have, and I think we have the most qualified person in this state to give us that overview. Bill Miller is a co-founder, along with my longtime dear friend Buddy Jones, probably the leading political consulting and campaign consulting and government relations firm in this state. It's called Hillco Partners, and Bill has an extensive background in campaigns and media work, and I've had the pleasure of working with him. And there's none better or more knowledgeable as a lobbyist, as a media consultant, and uniquely on legislative matters. And let me just say, there's nobody more qualified. I've tried to get, Bill is a busy man. In fact, he's in a client's office now. And I know we continue to get this notice, our internet connection is unstable, and I lost you there for a few minutes. Hopefully it won't interrupt Bill, because there's nobody more qualified. And I've tried to get Bill before. He's a busy man. In fact, he's on Zoom from a client's office in Houston today. And Bill, thank you so much for taking the time, and we look forward to hearing you. And of course, he'll be glad to respond to our questions as he's finished.
Well, thank you, Gaylord. And Gaylord is one of my dearest and oldest friends, and he has asked me before to be before you guys, and I'm honored to be with the Lions Club. And I love your song. Let me just say, it's a great song. It's just made me smile to hear it. So I'm here, and I told Gaylord that there are a number of topics, but there are probably some things of greater interest than others to everyone that's on this Zoom call. And I told Gaylord it would probably be best if Gaylord asked me questions, and then I could expand upon it and go in whatever direction I choose. And then if any of you feel free to ask questions, but I thought it might work better as a colloquy with Gaylord, if that would be okay, or I can say some remarks. But Gaylord, you and I talked about you just posing some questions and I would answer them, and then we'll see where it takes us. You want to go that direction?
Sure. I think that's great. And can you hear me?
I can.
Good, because I know we're getting a little interruption. But obviously at the top of the ballot and of greatest concern and interest is the presidential election. And I'll tell you, things got lit up, to say the least, with a debate Tuesday night, and left some dismayed, many disgusted, many disappointed. But for people like you and me, we find it interesting. What effect in your career have you seen the debates have on presidential elections?
Well, I think they can be instructive. You know, Kennedy, Nixon, Ronald Reagan, and Walter Mondale, Bill Clinton, and George W. Bush when Bush looked at his watch. So they are instructive. You know, George W. Bush was expected to do poorly. He held his own against Al Gore. It helped him. But I agree with you, the debates, and I watched it with my wife. And afterwards, I said, if I were either one of those participants and I went home after the debate, I would be sleeping on the couch. It was a poor performance. And the bottom line on that performance was Donald Trump wanted to interrupt and rattle Joe Biden. That was his game. He was going to speak over him. He was going to try and belittle him and get his goat, so to speak. And Joe Biden tried to stay the course, but didn't quite make it. And as a consequence, they both suffered, in my opinion, poor outcomes. It was not instructive, except as a process, they need to make some changes to who controls the mic. For the future debates now, I thought debates would be instructive because I think there are two big issues in the race. One is Trump's personality. Those who like him love him. He's in your face. He's all over you. That's who he is. Makes no bones about it. And then there are questions about Joe Biden's acumen, and the debate is intended to put those to rest, that he's equipped to handle the job that he's, running for. I think we got a full dose of both personalities, but not in a way that was satisfying to any voter. So the next two debates they have will perhaps be more instructive, but the other night it was just simply terrible. It was the worst presidential moment in my history of watching this stuff, but it's gone. Now, what's the next day? What's the next debate? What's the next fight? And that's where we start today. It's over. We can talk about it, but it's what's up. It's what's coming our way now, not what's happened. So that's how I see it right now, Gaylord.
Yeah, and please, anyone that has a question, please just go ahead and speak up while Bill and I are chatting. It's very interesting that the next debate, a week from yesterday in the evening, it'll be the vice presidential debate where Kamala Harris and Vice President Pence will debate at the University of Utah. Bill, from your experience, how important have you seen the role of the vice presidential nominee have on the campaign results for the president?
Well, let's put it in the context of the debate. The most important vice presidential debate that I witnessed was after the first Romney-Obama debate. Obama, who's a very smart, articulate guy, took that debate for granted. And Romney's a really smart guy, and he was prepared, and he wiped the floor with Obama. And everyone said as such. The next debate up was the vice presidential debate. And in that case, Biden really helped Obama. He stood his ground and gained ground back. And I thought it helped Obama. And it was also, don't lose further ground. You lost some ground. Obama bounced back. Obama won the election. But in that case, Biden delivered. He hit the ball when he needed to, and he hit it to the place he had to. And I think he really helped Obama rebound from that first poor debate. And Obama was not going to be caught flat-footed twice, but had Biden failed, it would have really been a deep hole. And I thought Romney, they felt like they were going to win the race, but they didn't. And they felt very confident after the first debate. So that debate's the one I would point to. The running mate can help. Lyndon Johnson's the perfect example of your running mate winning an election for you. And there are other examples of that, but he's the best, and he's from our home state. And everyone knows the story behind Lyndon Johnson and Kennedy, but he made John Kennedy president, and that's that.
Very good. That's a great analogy. One of the hottest issues that can affect an awful lot of the people on the Zoom call is our mail-in ballot. It's very interesting, the number of states that the only way.
You've gone, so I can't hear you, Gaylord.
Can you repeat your question, Gaylord, again? Maybe your internet now is better.
I know it's a mail-in ballot question.
Yeah, I think we lost Gaylord.
Well, let me touch on mail-in ballots. was on the West Coast and I was in Oregon, and I saw these basically places where you just dump your ballots in, and I thought, well, that's novel. I hadn't really seen it in person. As somebody, I don't do campaigns any longer, but when I did do campaigns, and I've done them for Republicans and I do them for Democrats when I did them, there's only one rule, and that is you got to win, and you do whatever it takes to win in whatever, and there are both the things that are ethical and some things that are not. And there's a line to cross. And I will tell you, political consultants only look at the winning line and losing line. They don't look at the ethical line. I think mail-in ballots encourage bad behavior, but I'm of the opinion that everyone should vote. And if that helps everyone vote, that's great. I just hope that everyone votes and it's an honest ballot. And if that's the case, it's a good outcome. If it's being misused for purposes other than an honest ballot, then I'm against it. But I do want people to participate. I believe in participation. And if that encourages it, great. But like anything that started anew or is kind of coming into its own, it will be used and it will be abused. And you can bank on that.
And I'm sorry about the interruption. For the second time, I lost Zoom, and thank you for proceeding. And anyone else, am I? But at any rate, and as I was saying, it's interesting that most election laws are determined by states and very limited federal law application. So that in Texas, if you're over 65, if you're invalid, if you have an illness that prevents you from voting, or if you're in jail but eligible to vote, or going to be out of the county of your residence, you can vote. But other states, as I was saying, totally vote by mail. And obviously, Trump is trying to say, with a tremendous increase in the mail-in balloting as a result of the concern about the virus and the infectious effect of going to the voting polls, he's saying there will just be so many mail-in ballots, and every state's different on how long they have to. Most states require the ballot to be received by election day, but not necessarily counted on election day. There is one state, I think it's Pennsylvania, that gives them 2 weeks to count the mail-in ballots. This has led Trump, as you know, to say it's going to be a hoax, it's going to be a fix, and there are election lawyers all over the country getting ready to bring lawsuits. And Bill, do you see and have a concern about the delay in the counting of the mail-in ballots, given the considerable increase in the likelihood of Trump saying it's an invalid election and I'm not leaving office, as he's threatened to do?
I'm always concerned when election night doesn't settle the case. The longer things are delayed, the more of an invitation it is to participate in ways to affect the outcome. You know where you need to win. You generally know by what margins, and you push the areas of your strength and you diminishes your weaknesses. So the guidelines where there's enormous latitude on timelines, it encourages people trying to change outcomes that are not per the voters' wishes. And you'll see that it will happen, absolutely going to happen. And I mean, the Democrats and Republicans can argue that both sides play the game, but whoever's playing the game, it's the wrong game to play. And there should be guidelines, and it should be, if not election night, a few days later. This shouldn't go into like the 2000 presidential where you're going hanging chads and we're Supreme Court making a decision in December. That's not bad for our country. Voters need to vote. They need to know the outcome. And then the politicians who win, move on. Those who lose, move out. Simple. But it's not simple anymore.
Bill, who benefits from the tremendous increase in mail-in ballots, Trump or Biden?
I would say that the Democrats are more astute at using mail-in ballots. And in areas where they're available, I think that they're more accomplished on an organizational level than Republicans. So I think the overall edge goes to Democrats.
Bottom line, a lot of people are used to straight ticket voting. That is, you go in and you're able to punch one location to vote for all the Democrats, all the Republicans. The Texas legislature in 2017 prohibited straight line voting, and that is being litigated, but the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Fifth Circuit, which includes Texas, has upheld the prohibition of straight ticket voting. Bill, in your opinion, does that help Republicans or does it help Democrats?
It helps Republicans. And the reason I think Republican voters, and this is a generalization, I don't mean it in a cynical way, but in a big county, you may have 46 to 50 candidates on a ballot. And their Republican voters overall will probably take a little more interest in going down ballot. Whereas I think some people who have not as much means or as much time to study, they're going to go in and vote the top of the ticket or a few down, but they're not going to go all the way through and find names on the 50th line of the ballot. It's just not going to happen. So the net gain there is Republicans. Republicans passed that law in the legislature to prevent straight ticket because they felt it benefited Democrats. That's exactly why it's out. The O'Rourke phenomenon produced results that were not good for Republicans, and there was a lot of straight ticket voting. And they said, enough of this, change the law. And that's the way the system works. If you get control, you change the laws to suit your purposes.
There you go. Just one comment about the United States Senate. Right now, as everyone knows, the Democrats control the U.S. House and the Republicans control the U.S. Senate, with Mitch McConnell being the majority leader and really setting the agenda. And he has really run the Senate with an iron hand. What prospects do you see of the Democrats, given the fact that there is roughly 1/3 of the U.S. senators up for re-election? And very interesting, out of the, let's say, 33 senators up for re-election, 23 of them are Republicans, and Democrats are making a mighty effort to try to defeat Republican senators in certain states so they can control the Senate. What do you think the prospects are of the Democrats controlling the United States Senate after Election Day?
I think the prospects are favorable, not good. So many races turn on issues that we don't really see because they happen in locales that we're unfamiliar with, or states where there are other issues floating besides national. I mean, we can use our own state as an example, but I think they've got a shot at it, Gaylord, and a more than reasonable shot, but things have to go their way. Mistakes have to be minimized, and they need a good top of the ticket. They need Biden to finish strong. And I think the presidential race is closing, and I think it's going to be a close race regardless of what happens in the next 3 weeks. So do they get the help? Maybe, maybe not, maybe selectively. So it's a crapshoot. I'd say they got a shot at it. I wouldn't say 50-50. I'd say their odds are a little long, but not by much.
Let's turn to Texas now. Who carries Texas, Biden or Trump? Given the tremendous margins by which Republican candidates for president have carried the state, Jimmy Carter in 1976 was the last. Any change in that, or is the margin we've seen for Republican candidate for president still there?
Trump will carry Texas, and Texas will continue to be the premier state for Democrats. And the reason it is on the presidential level, even though they may back off on their spending, is because if a Democrat can carry Texas, a Republican cannot win the presidency. So Texas is super important. It's beyond super important. It's ultra important. But in this case, Trump, with all his problems and challenges, he will carry Texas. It's not going to be by double digits, but he's going to carry Texas, and it will help Republicans underneath.
And it will help, including, I guess, our senior U.S. Senator John Cornyn, who obviously has a Democratic opponent that seems a lot of people don't know, but she just reported the Democratic nominee, Ms. Hager, just reported a $13 million fundraising benefit for the last quarter. I don't know if that makes her competitive. All the polls, and the polls only is as good as the sample, and it's only good probably for the day it was concluded. But the polls are showing he has a 6 to 7 point lead, and I guess you would assume that the Cornyn would probably win by that margin.
I would. John Cornyn will be reelected, and money counts for a lot in this business. For all of you who are listening, I mean, it's, the quote, mother's milk of politics. Having a lot of money gives you all your options. It doesn't give you all the brain power to use that money. And part of having a lot of money is spending it wisely and selectively and instructively. Hager's got dough. O'Rourke had dough. O'Rourke had enthusiasm, and he ended up losing. You can have a lot of money, and we have countless examples of rich candidates failing. Hager's not rich, but she's got enough money to win in any other year, but she's running against an incumbent who has a long history of service in the state, a strong base, and he's raised plenty of money, and she'll lose. And that's just the way it comes out for her.
Races that are going to be of some significance include the races for the Texas House of Representatives. As I think everyone knows, the 150-member House is now controlled, but by a small margin, by Republicans. And if my numbers are still correct, if the Democrats were to defeat 9 Republicans, they could control the Texas House, which becomes very important because redistricting of congressional districts and of state board education districts will occur. And if the Democrats control the House, they can have a little bit more influence than if not. But what do you think the prospects are of the Democrats defeating enough Republicans to control the Texas House of Representatives when they convene again in January?
Well, there are a couple of ways to look at this. One is de facto control. You actually have the numbers, you elect a speaker, and you're in control. The Democrats are close enough now with some pickups in this cycle and not accomplishing the goal of taking control that they can be influential in choosing the next speaker. That doesn't put them in control, but it gives them a balance of power that they haven't enjoyed in a long, long time. Winning enough seats to take over is going to be a challenging prospect. And let me explain how I see the attitudes right now. And I've talked to a lot of people, and a lot of people have opinions, believe me, and a lot of people have enthusiasms and fears. But the way I would summarize it is Democrats have been, on House races, have been highly confident about their prospects and suddenly have become worried about outcomes. Republicans who've been resigned to bad outcomes are now very hopeful for success. And it's sort of like both sides are coming back into balance. And I'm going to give you one race because it's in the backyard of Austin, and it's one that you can keep your eye on. It's an example of whether Democrats hang on and gain or not. Vicki Goodwin is the state rep from District 47. It's Western Travis County. I elected a state rep by one in a Republican primary named Susan Combs. She was comptroller twice. So I know the district well. It's a moderate district. It's got conservatives, it's got moderates, it's got a little of everything. Vicki Goodwin won, took out Paul Workman, who's a good guy, and it was because of the O'Rourke factor. She is running for re-election, which puts an incumbent first cycle after you win is when you're most vulnerable. And her opponent is a guy named Justin Berry. Justin Berry won a very contested Republican primary. Vicki Goodwin went before the Austin American-Statesman, and they filmed these interviews, and she and Justin Berry there, and she doubled down on defunding the police, which surprised me. I didn't know it. Justin Berry told me. And I said, well, you've been given an issue. He said, you bet. And Justin Berry's a cop. So you have in the backyard a woman who's an incumbent who has taken an issue which is controversial. I mean, believe me when I tell you, defunding the police is controversial, and it's not a good issue for her. I'm surprised she took it, and she's running against a cop. That's a seat that Democrats must hang on to if they expect to make any gains. If the Vicki Goodwins of the world go down, then the Democrats will have a disappointing season. She is a pivotal point to look at the races this fall. How's that race going to go? Which way is it flipped? And that's kind of like every race out there, Gaylord. Each one of them have personalities and issues that are particular to those places and persons. And I think the candidate who's working hardest, working smartest, and is well-funded will be the candidate that wins, Republican or Democrat, in very tight races.
Great. Just as a little preview, and I want to leave some time for others to obviously ask questions, but just give a little preview, get your work logistically given the virus. And what I mean by that is they can't decide how they're going to have, how they will have significant spacing on the floor or in committees. Who will be admitted? Bill, they may not let you and me in the Capitol building.
I know.
Like
I know. We'll have long lunches. You want to play golf, Gaylord? So here's the situation. The House does not have leadership. So they will elect a speaker. I'm sorry? Well, I didn't hear what Gaylord said.
Governor Hobbs interrupted you. I was just going to say that our former Lieutenant Governor Bill Hobby says that there's one issue.
I can't hear.
I'm sorry, Bill, I was muted somehow.
No one's ever muted you, Gaylord. That's the first.
I know. I was just going to ask you if you'd give us a quick overview from what you see now to be the major issues coming out of the election that the legislature will have to deal with, including the significant reduction in budget because of the virus effect.
Yeah, let me touch quickly on they're not going to allow visitors.
I'm not
unless you're a witness. You're not going to get in. It's going to be tightly controlled. The Senate is really tight, which tells the House, don't waste our time with stuff we're not going to consider if you send it over. So priorities are priorities, and that's more so than ever this session, forthcoming session. The first and only thing they have to do is get a budget, and the budget is looking between $10 and $25 billion in the red. That's a lot of money by anyone's counting. It's probably going to be higher, closer to the session, and then the comptroller will probably give them some relief in some way or another. But the short version is, it's the two things that they'll look at it: where are we going to cut, and where can we find money? Okay, and if it's, you can say gambling and other things, put money in the pocket, but the Republicans are not going to do that. So you're really looking at more cuts than anything else. Each senator is going to be allowed 3 bills out of committee, no promises about floor action, that's just such a small number. And so, you're going to get some healthcare stuff because COVID's alive and well, as we all know. You got budget stuff. You're going to have some issues related to policing, and they're not necessarily defund the police, but they are going to be things about training, Well, let me tell you this, and I didn't know this until recently, and it's kind of surprising. And we represent all the police pension funds, but there are no minimums. There are only 2 states in the country that have no minimum standards for cops, and Texas is one of them. So there's no minimum standard to be a cop. And I think things like that will be revised. I think standards will be looked at. I think training will be looked at. And that's all because of what you see with riots and all that stuff that's gone on. The short version is it'll be a short session. It won't be controversial except in certain instances, but it will be a very dramatic session if the Democrats take control of the House. Then there'll be fights about everything and they'll go far into the night. But if Republicans maintain control, you better have your priorities in order. You won't get many chances or many bites at the apple. And so budget, healthcare, and I think some police stuff, those are going to be kind of bellwether issues for the session.
Thank you, Bill. And before others, let me just ask you to comment on anything we've not covered. Do you think that you would bring to our attention today?
We have 2 questions. I think Steve, you had you wanted to do a question. Okay, Anne, go ahead.
Hi, Bill. My question, you were talking about the presidential debates and how it was really awful, and it was. But are they going to change some rules going into the next 2 debates? And how are they going to control the microphones? I mean, can they cut somebody's mic so they can't just talk over each other?
Well, that's exactly what I said after watching it for 15 minutes. I said, the moderator or moderators, whomever it may be in these instances, has to control the mic. In other words, you have 2 minutes to talk. Your mic is on. At the conclusion of 120 seconds, I don't care where you are in your sentence or what points you're about to make, mic goes off. And they have to control the microphone. And if you control the microphone, then you can control the speech. You control the speech, you control the behavior. Politicians won't shut up. That's a fact. They will talk as long as they can get a word in edgewise, they're going to talk. So you have to control the mic. That's the only way to control the debate.
Well, do you think they're going to do that this time?
There's the Commission on Presidential Debates is looking at exactly that point. Now, remember, candidates or campaigns have to sign off on these edits to the rules, but it would be hard to believe that a campaign would say no to that. I mean, if one said no and one said yes, and then you're not going to, you got to get, it has to be consensus. But I believe I think both campaigns realize they didn't do themselves any favors. So yeah, we got to do better.
Thanks.
I don't see any more questions. Rudy, back to you.
All right. Well, did someone else have a question? We don't want to.
I was going to ask a quick question.
Oh, Steve. Yeah.
Sorry. Bill, it's more of a general, the rainy day fund that's available. How often is it ever used? And I don't know if you can speak to any of this, but I'm not trying to be funny when I say this, but can it get any rainier than the COVID crisis and what's occurred? And can they legally use that to cover budget shortfalls, or can they use it for other things? And have they deployed it? I'm not a native, but I've been here 12 years and I'm trying to learn more about it. It reminds me of the strategic petroleum reserves, which President Bush was going to tap into in 08 and 07 when oil prices were skyrocketing. Can people, is there a protocol and is there any kind of precedent to tap into the rainy day fund?
It was used last session for help on some budget items for education. Yes, it's available. It's always available. There's a general desire not to go there because, one, Republican conservatives have sort of ruled the roost for a while. So they believe, you just leave well enough alone. And you think it's bad today, it's going to be worse tomorrow. There's that theory. But, the short version is, yes, it's bad. They have a huge shortfall this session. And it depends on what they want to do and how strongly they feel about doing it. If they want to do something and they can't afford to, and that's the only way, then they'll do it. But those are high hurdles for them to remember. It's conservative Republicans, and that's how they look at, we're going to live within our means. And that's why I said if the Democrats take control of the House, you'll have these enormous fights about the budget and where the funding comes from and what we don't cut, et cetera. But yeah, the money's available. It's a lot of money, but here we go. How much are you going to use and how fast does it replenish and what's going to happen tomorrow and so on and so forth.
And maybe a quick sidebar, how much do they apportion a certain amount to the rainy day fund based on either tax revenue? And is that a moving target based on year to year, or does each session pass kind of how much is sort of deposited into that?
I don't have the right answer. It's not like the fund for the University of Texas, UTEMCO. Their funds come from royalties on lands and petrochemicals and the like. So the fund grows. I mean, that's your true rainy day fund. They've got $50-60 billion in the fund for the University of Texas. But I think it's money they set aside. They may have a mechanism for funding it, but I think it's set aside, and it may have a growth mechanism. I'm not smart enough, or I've never recognized what it is to identify it for you, though.
I just was wondering. Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much to our speaker, Bill, and appreciate your reviewing our not options necessarily, but what might lie ahead. So to Bill Miller, our very thanks, our very appreciation for your joining us today, and Gaylord, excellent moderator in a way for allowing the questions and the responses to be made the way they were. So again, our thanks to Bill Miller for being with us today.
Thank you very much. It was an honor to be here. Thank you, guys.
We're gonna move on, and next week's program, I was gonna call on Patty Robinson. Is Patty still with us?
She's not here, Rudy. Maybe Mac can fill in.
Mac, if you can unmute, could you tell us what we have for next week's program, please?
Yeah, next week is White Cane Day, and we traditionally have something about White Cane Day. This is actually on White Cane Day, so that's kind of unique. And Patty has lined up somebody to speak about it. Chris Tabb will be speaking about orientation and mobility. So yeah, this is something dear to the hearts of Lions. So you might want to attend next week's session.
All right, thank you, Mac. All right, well, we've enjoyed everyone's participation today. Thank you to everyone that did join us, first of all, and those that participated. One last thing before we adjourn, concerning the roses, let me put a challenge out there. I will commit to selling, let's say, 5 dozen roses by next Thursday. So if anybody wants to help us with that, join and accept the challenge, and then we'll count noses next Thursday and see who met the challenge. All right, if there's no other business, we're going to call this meeting adjourned. So thank you very much for joining us.